Oh, it goes on forever. Alright, is this working? Can you guys hear me? You can, that's good. Okay. Maya's being goofy. As the Maya do. Well, while it's working on itself, hello, I'm Malley. I think this is the right camera. Where are we? Here. Yes, hello. I'm Malley. I'm the generalist artist. One of the generalist artists. I'm the generalist artist, and Allie's the illustration concept artist. And yeah, and tonight's stream is going to be about showing you the rigging stuff I've been working on, and possibly playing with animations with them. It appears that Maya might be completely dead, even though it was just working. So let's try that again. I need to pull as well. I just made a quick change. Hello, Dekoru. Alright. See if my scripts are gonna work. There they are. I can see. If I leave them on this screen, I'm not going to be able to see everything, but so let's look at what we looked at before. So I believe the last time I was here, we looked at the wolf and we looked at the run animation. Screen full button. So this thing is, oops, I did something bad. Okay. This is my scripts, things that I use to make rigs. Here's some specific modeling stuff, not much there. UV stuff, we don't really use that. Organization, so this, let me back again. So this will like make a box icon, this will make a hand icon. There's the foot icon, belt for the belly section, cog, it's literally a cog, but cog stands for center of gravity. There's an orb, which is just 3 circles. Fit all won't work because it's based on what's selected. Actually, maybe we can do that. Nope, it has to be a mesh. So if I make a mesh, actually if I delete everything because it's in the way. If I make a mesh, and then I click fit all, the fit all fits around the thing. And then this is actually one that wasn't here before. I don't know if I showed any of this to you guys before, but I have a text box. So we can do like, you will see in a bit, chest. So it creates text for me, which is nice. That's actually Maya's built-in functionality. I didn't do that. Hello, Bibine3, stream just started, like 4 minutes ago. Console from Twitch these days. Oh. Sorry, that sucks. So then this is rigging stuff, so this is how, this IKFK auto is how we make our legs. Paddle line and orient, this is a bunch of technical stuff that is used, like I have access to some of my scripts here, because like paddle line and orient, takes an object and you don't want to make that object dirty. So like if I have this cylinder and I key it and then I move on the timeline and I move it and I key it, now it moves, but you'll notice this translate Z is, it's called dirty. There's data on it. So the way you prevent that from happening, or to not dirty the mesh itself, this probably won't work. No. Select the icon you want on the joint to set up. It doesn't matter. Basically, you put it into a group. So here's the cylinder, and if I Control G, okay, so now it's in a group, which this is also a pad, and then I animate on that group node. So let me animate. Oops. So now I animate that. So now the sphere, or sorry, the cylinder is animating, but when I click on the mesh, it's not dirty at all. So that's really good. Proctored Tech, you love the game, that's awesome. Thank you very much. We love the game as well. Alright, so and then rigging 2 is just more rigging things. Like they get rigging is reasonable and rigging 2 is like super complicated stuff. And then Stonehearth specific is everything I've been doing to make our rigs or animation easier. I should probably split it at this point. Like if you notice, this is animation scripts and this is rig creation scripts. It should probably just be 2 different tabs. And then down here is mass conversion scripts, which I made and used a lot, and then I will probably never use again, because this was taking things from Max and putting them into Maya, and hopefully we never have to do that again. So these are not really important, which is why they're at the bottom, but I could just like completely get rid of them, or not delete them, but like get them out of the way. So, Babine, what have I been working on lately? Right, so when I was here last time, we talked about the run animation of the wolf, and how I like the animation, but it's like unfeasible to continue to use this. The rig is what I'm talking about. So if I want to change this animation, first off, you notice it's keyed every frame. If we look at Windows Animation Graph Editor, Animation Graph Editor. This happened last time. It's like on a weird, it should be selected. Nope. I think I can't open that window. Sorry. Can we look at the dope sheet? Yes. Alright. Is that actually, oh my god, that's it. Oops. Did you zoom out? Yeah, so it's hard to describe if you don't know much about animation, but basically each of these black things, which there's so many of, it's just all black, those are keys. So if I go to sorry, I'm trying to describe it without while not getting ahead of myself. So let me look at something I animated. So Poyo animations, cute, emote cute, don't save. So if we look at this, here there's the black things. That's kind of what it should look like. And if you look down here, actually it looks really messy because I animate messily. But like if we just look at the head, there you can see like what it's doing. Or here you can see what it's doing. It actually is a lot of keys. It really shouldn't be that many. Why can I not? Just can't open it. Wait, I can cheat. That's not cheating. Oh, because it's open somewhere. Let's try this again. I'm gonna close my reopen it. That way the graph editor won't be open, and then I can open that specific layout where the menu is open. Yay! Okay, so that's the graph editor. And now if I can open a file, but I bet it'll just freak out. Critters, Poyo, animations. Cute. Oh, damn. Shoot. So the animation window is like off Windows somewhere. And I can't. I don't know how to get everything into frame. Not a big deal. Anyway, basically the animation had to be keyed every frame because it came from Max. That's just how the everything transfers. So if I want to adjust like just the foot, like say the foot, let me do the red foot. Say this foot here, when it impacts, boom, right there, I want to make it so that like the foot is flat. Say that's what I want. So I come in here and I rotate the foot so it's flat. But then I'm like, oh, well, I want the hip to actually be here. But now I have to adjust the foot. But to adjust the foot, I have to adjust this. And then like, does that make sense? So I'm changing all of these various things just to change one thing or change something else. And it's called counter animating, and this is an FK only rig. So that means forward kinematics. Everything that happens to the parent happens to the child, happens to the next child down. So that can be great. That's actually really good for tails. Well, this is not a good example of a tail. It has one bone. But if I show you the other one I'm working on, creating. So now, here we have 3 pieces of tails. This one only needs an FK rig. So if I animate one, the rest follow, right? Or I'm actually animating all of them, but if I animate the base of the tail where it's connected to the hey Hyrule, welcome. If I animate the tail at the base, the middle piece follows, the tip follows, like it should, right? That's what you want to happen. But the difference is, with a limb, you may not want that. So if I can see where I am, sometimes I want to hold something, and if I tilt my body, I don't want the cup to spill. Because if they're all connected, let me close the top. If they're all connected, it will just tilt, right? But I don't want that to happen. So I tilt the body, but the hand should stay still. So that's called IK. So FK, forward kinematics, IK, inverse kinematics. And what it means is, actually I have to run my scripts because, oh, I might have just broke the tail. I broke the tail. Try it again. All right, so it's doing a lot of stuff, which I will go into in a minute. But now, here we have inverse kinematics. So if you notice, I move the foot. The foot's just doing what it does, but everything else in that leg is like, oh, I'm moving here now. I'm moving here now. And I, as the animator, don't have to go manually do that to the leg pieces or the foot, which is really good. Also, I can do some really cool cheaty stuff. Let me do that so it's easier to see. Like this foot roll, which is a lot of other crazy stuff, but this is foot controls. So I can then have him stand on his toe tips or have him like screech to a halt. Or I can have him do left or right. And you notice all of this stuff, like here's a toe swivel, all of these, the leg just comes along for free. It's so nice. It removes the need to counter animate, which counter animating is like the bane of an animator's existence. So, but as I said, there are times where all you ever are going to want is an FK. Like a dog wagging its tail is like a perfect example. And like even if you wanted to do something crazy where like, I can't do it quickly, but make an S shape, that's still FK. Like there's no reason to IK that. IK specifically for like, I have something like a limb or a tail or like a monkey's tail might probably would want IK because the monkey would like pick something up with his tail. So that's like a perfect example of when you do want IK. And that's actually more complicated than a typical arm. All right, so let me back up a bit. Let's reopen the dog. Actually, I'll show you something else. So one thing I found was I want to remake my rigs more quickly and adjust things. Like, what do I say? This rig is like complete, right? Complete. But maybe something's broken, or maybe I want to update something, or who knows. So I don't like where this is, but I made a disassemble rig button. So you click that and it just deletes the rig, and it keeps the hierarchy, which is like super important. and the pivot locations and all of that, which is really nice. And it just keeps it all ready to go. And then I just jump into creating the rig. So let's do no piece of critter for some reason. Wolf rig work should be here. And then creating rig 2. Yes, we replace it. By the way, is the music too loud, too quiet? Can you guys hear it? All right, so I'm just gonna basically talk through this process. So first thing you do is you hit step 1, which is the prep. It creates the controls, and they actually don't do anything. They're made based on the geometry in the world, but that's it. Then we're going to optionally create a limb or foot. So these are trash locators, which if we get to the bunny, I could show you. But I'm going to make the wolf legs. So first it asks, do you want to mirror the limb? Yes, I do. Do you want to include the foot? Yes, I do. Do you want to include the toe? No, and I didn't actually implement this, so you can't do it yet. Then it says select only left limb pieces, so never try to select the right ones, from furthest extremity to part closest to the body. So that means grab the foot, then grab the ankle, shin, and thigh. And then you click it. You notice it created a bunch of little locators. And now this is in the way. So this guy is called left foot pivot rear 0 locator limb set 0. So this is saying it's the left foot. This is the pivot in the rear. 0 is saying 0 is not important. This is for me for the script. This guy will be like, this one's 2, this one's 5. This is so that when I read these in, I know what they're saying. So then locator is that this is a locator. Limb set means this is part of the left back leg, which right now is called limb set 0. This one over here will be limb set 1. And then this guy is not made yet, but I want him to also be a limb set. Boom. And now this is limb set, oops, I should click on it. Limb set 2, this is going to be limb set 3. So that's great. Now, next step, partial rig. This means it's just going to connect stuff. So as I said, these don't do anything. Now they do something. It just like connects all the pieces together. Fortunately, it doesn't work on Blender because the add-on can't really handle those. At least I didn't take a lot of effort to make it work. Hyrule, are you talking about... I'm not sure what you're talking about. Are you talking about the rig? If you specify more, maybe we can talk it out. I don't know much about Blender, though. I'm sorry. I would assume Blender has some sort of similar functionality to this, just because you need this functionality to be able to animate properly. So we did a partial rig, which hooks up half of everything. So now, another thing I made was the spine control. So right now, if I just move this around, actually this isn't fair. I should show you the old wolf. So I actually split the wolf down the middle. So he has 2 halves. That will let me, like, if this is his body, it will let me do stuff like this. So I can arch his back or have him sag so he looks tired, which we can't do right now. So let's see. Entities, critters, wolf. This is the current rig. So here's his body, and like I can't even. There's no concept of separating that. So there you go. His neck is actually called body, but this is where he split. So in this guy, I still have the neck or body, but I also have this other portion. Actually, this right now is effectively the same rig as we have with like some extra cuts here and there, like the tail is chopped up differently. But yeah, all right, so we want a spine system. So we're gonna click this button and then start matching it up. Also, so the idea of making all these scripts is that any any whoops, I already did that. Any creature, for any creature, we can make a rig relatively easily. But I'm going quicker than I could go on a rig I didn't know. The wolf has been my example rig, so like I know everything I need to click on to do stuff. So I just created the important points for the chest and pelvis spine, and now I'm going to add a neck spine, which is effectively a neck. But if you think about like a neck has a bunch of vertebrae that you move around, so does a spine. It's pretty much the same thing. All right, so hooked all those up. So all right, so we should read the directions. It's important. This is a matcher thing. It's how I got the chest piece to go to the location of the chest. So like if I click the head and I say matcher, it goes to the pivot location of the head. But what I did is I did that for the body and the pelvis. So not in the correct space. But start should be plus Z from end, which down here you can see plus Z is that way. So it is. And then before you hit step 3, fix any parenting needed. So this is very important. Actually, it should work regardless. Cool, it worked. But we lost functionality without knowing it. So if we look at the feet, actually if we move this, it actually looks great. Like, oh, look at that. The hips move and the feet don't move. Awesome. But because the feet were children of the legs before we hit complete, so I'm going to undo. Because we didn't fix our parenting. If we look at this, this foot is a child of this bone or mesh or object. This object is a child of that object, which is fine. This actually caused a lot, 48 hours. Stephanie, if you're watching, this is what I've been doing for the past 48 hours. Trying to detect when this is true. Because when it is true, remember the foot controls the leg. So if the foot is child of the leg, but it's also controlling the leg, it creates a cycle, which a cycle means I control you, control me, control you, control me. And what happens is the legs just shoot out into nowhere and breaks the entire rig. So now I detect that that's true and just pop the feet out so they're not children. But if we take the feet and put them under the pelvis or anything, so now if we look, here's the pelvis and they are now children of that. So if I select this, they are selected. And then I do the same with the, actually I'm gonna leave the front feet off and I'll show you the difference. So now I hit completion. It's done. So now I look at the feet and we have foot controls as before, foot controls, but we also have space switching. So what this does is it lets us move the pelvis around, and then you're like, oh, well, I should have done it backwards. Let me give you a more realistic example. All right, so let's take the feet back out of there, and we will do the front legs. Parent, and then completion. So if I wanted the dog to act more like a bear, or a human, like a biped, so you like pick his chest up and put it above his pelvis. If I can grab the control. Look, it's a human dog, except his feet still track the ground. Like if I move his chest around, like his forehands, his hands don't care what his chest are doing. But with this guy, root chest, now they do. So when you move the feet, or sorry, the chest, the hands come with. And that's really important for doing stuff like having him walk around like a bear, or basically just act more like a biped. So you can't, there are so many problems with actually making him act like a biped, but it at least gets closer than not having this functionality. So again, we have the feet down here. if I move these around, I can't suddenly make them follow the pelvis again because of the limitation that we didn't fix the parenting before. So I'm just undoing. There's the function. But if you just do the parenting right, completion. Now it's on all 4 legs, root to pelvis. So say I put the pelvis over there, and for some reason I want the feet to track the pelvis. So now I have one that's tracking and one that's not. And like, I will fully admit that's not useful 100% of the time, but 1% of the time it is 100% necessary, if that makes sense. So yeah. So let me look through notes real quick. Sarah's Strix, what have I missed? We're just looking at what I've been doing for the past 7 or 8 weeks. Actually, sorry, I've been doing other things, but this was the past 4 weeks, 3-4 weeks. And I'm sorry, I don't remember what I was doing before that. Hyrule says it probably does. It's just me that doesn't know how to do it. Adding a child of constraint will usually place it somewhere odd because it doesn't take offset to account. It's just my random-minded. IK does work with bones though. Offset's actually a big deal in Maya as well. We can. Oh, can we look at my scripting? I assume none of this stuff is important. Nothing needs to be saved. All right, so. Oops. This will be a very quick bypass because I don't really want to jump into Python while I'm on a stream because I won't be very useful. Let's get this guy. Let's see. Parent constraint. So that's a great example. So if you look at this guy here, it says some trash constraint equals the give me a parent constraint of object 0 to mesh pad. And I am not doing anything else. So because it's a trash constraint, I don't care. And then I delete it the next line. But down here, I do a parent constraint and I say parent this to this, weight of 0, and maintain offset is true. So if this was a 0, or as a 1, I parent this hand to this hand, and nothing happens. But if it was a 0 and says maintain offset is off, then this snaps to this point. So whatever engine you're in, they will have that kind of distinction because it's super important. White Leak Cat says Python just started programming. It's a fun language. It's pretty powerful. I wish I knew more about programming, not necessarily Python, but like I don't know how to use classes and a bunch of things, and I get information from various team members who are amazing engineers and know 50 languages or something. But like Stephanie was like, hey, you should. We were looking in Lua, and she showed me how to do a recursive algorithm. So a function that calls itself, that calls itself, that calls itself, and then in the end, like gets back out of itself. And so before that, I'd never even heard of that concept, but I just used it again like 3 days ago because I needed it, and it actually needed it for something very simple. But it worked. And then like Albert showed me something else. I don't remember what he showed me, but like the engineers will show me little things, and then that like blows up and makes it so huge, and like, man, I should totally rewrite everything I've ever written because like it'll be so much better this next time because I know more. But yeah, all right. So something else I said last time while we were looking at animations, which if it's still open, oh, this is the old rig. Like the animation of the run. So I said that I like this animation, but it has to go away because we need a new rig. Which is true. Sorry. For the wolf, it's true. So, bad example. Wait, back up. Let's go to the rabbit. With the rabbit, it might not be true. I might be able to save the rabbit. So, like, move cute. I'm not saying I can, but I might be able to. But like here, he's moving around. Everything's working fine. The important thing here is that of the changes I want to make to the rabbit, the parenting is probably going to remain the same. Maybe something weird with the feet, because just like with the wolf, but it's possible I could save this stuff. I just have to look into it and see what happens. Otherwise, I have to remake all those animations, and it's not going to be fun. Whiteley Cat says, I learned Python the exact same way. Another researcher on my team told me about Python. I started small. Now I have tons of scripts and classes on my computer. Yep. That's how this thing is completely organic growth of especially like the animation scripts. Some of these are obvious, like export animation, export skeleton. I had to make those, but this is not. So like space matcher copy, space matcher paste. That's like super important animation functionality. So like, for example, we're looking at these feet. If I go over here, and if I want to switch from root to pelvis, the foot moves, right? And you may not want that. So if we take him being the foot, if we take the foot and space matcher copy, and then we come over to, oh wait, go back to the foot. And then you come over to root to pelvis and you swap it, and then you paste, it goes right back to where it was. But it's still a child of the pelvis. So what that means, like, see how the right foot is not moving while the left foot is? What that means is you can do some space switching, is what it's called, and then match the position from one frame to the next, and nobody knows what happened. A wild Z fighting appeared. You're talking about the jaw? Or probably somewhere else. I don't know how they get rid of Z fighting in game, but it's just not an issue. Like, unless you've noticed that. It's super awesome, so. Alright, next, what's next? We've done all the rig stuff. I can look at the rabbit. So here's the rabbit, and we can do the same thing, and I can show you, hopefully a trick works. So disassemble, should put it all back as it should be, as it was. Alright, so then we do same process. Critters, rabbit, rig work. Creating rig 2. Alright, so that places the basic stuff. So now we have a trick. We have this thigh, right? And the thigh should control the foot, but let me show you the human, because there's a catch here that's actually rather problematic, and I had to get rid of it with the human. So if you notice, when the shoulder moves, the hand goes with it. So if I move the hand here and I want the hand to stay here, or if I want the hand to do things and then I move the shoulder, well, now the hand's doing what the shoulder says. So you're counter animating. Counter animating is bad. So what we did is we have create trash limb locator. So it just creates identifier trash because I want to throw it away later. And then I position it where I want it to be. And the goal here is, this is the knee of the bunny. So here's the thigh, knee, ankle. Make sense? Hopefully it does. And then I click the same way, limb primer, and it's going to duplicate. Now this is right identifier trash 1. This is left identifier trash 1. And then this one is also a different kind of leg. We want to include the foot. We want to mirror it. Yes, but there's no other selections. So we just click once. It duplicates across the locators. We are good to go. Primer. And so we say Anything else? No. Partial rig. So that hooks up all the controls. And then we say optional spine controls. I'm gonna match the pelvis. I'm actually gonna move it a little bit so it lines up there. And then the chest, I'm gonna match it, the same object. So rabbit I have started on more recently, but I have gotten it to work mostly. There's still some little tweaks I gotta do. Alright, so those are matched. I'm going to target the start control, target the end control. Not you, but you are the end. And then, as before, I'm going to take the feet and parent them under the pelvis. I'm going to take these feet and parent them under the chest. And now I'm going to save, because saving is important. Complete. And let's see if it works. So, yeah. So, and then we try the chest. It does the same thing. Alright, so the importance of the leg. If we unhide some stuff. This is going to be a little crazy to look at, but if you guys see, this is the hip, the knee, right there, and then there's the ankle. So this is where the pivot of the hip was. Down here is the locator that we placed, the trash locator, which has now been deleted, and that's the ankle. And what this does is, when we stretch out our leg, notice how the upward hip, this piece of geometry, now kind of looks like, or because it is doing what a normal thigh would do, and it allows us to animate however we want, and we have less cleanup to do with the thigh. You may notice the control is gone. It's just because I'm hiding it. So you can come back in here and still do whatever you want to this thing. But again, you have to counter animate anything on this control. But you still have the option, which is important. Alright, so let me go back and read some stuff. There's some Z-fight on the rabbit. There's lots of Z-fight on the rabbit. Strangely, it's not visible right now, but yeah, I mean, like that. Oh, because it's probably the exact same color on the exact same color, that's why we can't see it. I don't think I've ever seen in game, probably mostly because they're generally pretty small on the screen. Lots of parts are hidden. That's true. I think Chris actually does something to make Z fighting not a problem. I don't know how he does that, but it's pretty nice. Fought with expert timing. I'm not sure what you mean, Real Omega Sa, but Maya is not good about hiding Z fighting. In fact, I don't think you'd want it to, because this is where you're authoring stuff, so you want to catch it. Oh, I closed it earlier. Calves are spare parts. They are in our game. Coaster's Ball says it's a song. I'm not sure which song. Hiding Z fighting is magic. Everything Chris does is magic, I think. Alright, so that is everything I had planned for showing for rigs. But, wait, I think it's still open. Nope, it's not. I can put a new one though. Not you, but you? Should work. Alright, so this is before completion. Up, oh. Don't want to hit. Sorry, I hit the Stonehearth tool, this guy, on the other screen, but it was the other Maya, so. Alright, so there's completion. Oh, right, I'm sorry. Did I? I don't think I showed you guys. If you want to animate in the old style, you can swap over to FK mode, and it's the same as the tail. Like that's the way it used to be. So that's what I was saying about possibly saving animation, because the old controls are FK, and I have FK now. But the trick is, how do you target from some control with a name to a new control with a different name without it messing up? Also, if you notice, the screen changed again. If you notice here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces to the wolf leg. Alright, let's not do that. We don't need the rabbit. Where the old wolf had 1, 2, 3. So I added a bone. I also had to, I didn't have to add a bone. I added a bone because it looks better. I had to remake this leg no matter what, because something that's hard to describe, but basically if you go from this point to this point to this point, you notice that this backwards knee is actually further back in space than either of the other two controls. That way. I think it's the same direction. This way. Sorry. It's further back in Z than the other two. So when an IK is created and it creates this shape, the knee actually bends that way, which is bad. Like things don't move that way. So now it goes this way. So yeah. This actually has two, like a Z form, because it's called a digigrade leg. Oh, and did two more. All right, one more thing that's interesting: pole vectors. The IK thing, the thing that lets me move the foot and have the leg follow around, also has this little pole vector thing, so I can point the knee or the ankle at something else, which is important for like when you're trying to turn. Like you will step and twist, which isn't possible without the pole vector. But yeah, so if I were to save that as and I can try and start animating something on it. Kung Fu Song. Kung Fu Panda. I'm not sure which song you guys are talking about, but I love Kung Fu Panda. I've watched it many, many times. The color balancing in that movie is just phenomenally amazing. Like, if you've learned color balance in school, or it's probably the wrong word. Color theory and like why to use hotter, cool, or warmer, cool colors, or like how to use contrast to draw people's eye to a certain location. Like Kung Fu Panda is one of the best examples throughout the movie that I've seen. Like I don't know any movie that does it better, but it's amazing. They did a good job. All right, so I could embarrass myself by trying to make a walk animation. There's also probably problems, so I'm still working on this. Actually, that reminds me of another thing. I cannot animate on this. I saved it, then I make a new file. I bring this guy back, and I want to reference. Select an item to reference. I don't want to have view only. Do I not have a button? I think this will work. That's wrong text. Not sure what I was thinking. Alright, critters, wolf, rig work 2. Did it work? I think it worked. So he's referenced. The referencing is a complicated thing, but basically, the reason to, or sorry, not the reason. The reason to make a rig is so that it's easier to animate. The reason to reference is because while animating, I can break this rig. It's like, it's like playing basketball. Is that a good example? It's like playing basketball, except every once in a while there might be a tack on the ground. So you bounce the ball on the tack, the ball pops, you're done. Like you can't do anything anymore. You cannot keep playing basketball with that basketball. You have to get a new one. Sorry, this is a bit of a stretch. So when you reference something, instead of playing a basketball with a basketball, you're playing it with a copied duplicate of the basketball. So it's like a ghost version or something. So if I take a hammer and pop the basketball, there's another one just right there. Just grab another one and put it back in my hand. So it's really easy, and no problems come from that. So it's a really important thing, because if you break a rig, which rigs break all the time, it's important to have that kind of fallback, which we do. So that's cool. So I've referenced in. I want to grab all the controls and key them at 1. Then I want to set these guys. So one weird thing is that this is not, it is zeroed out. All these values are 0, but let's see. Can I see the ground? It's in the wrong place. How about that one? Let's say new layer, ground. So I can't select them. So if I zero these out, they're floating. So the reason I did that was because I wanted this Z leg. And if I were to make it a Z leg on the ground, then the back legs would be larger, longer than the front legs. Like they kind of should be anyway, but too long. So this helps proportions. But it's okay. There's also something weird, which I'm not sure if I like yet. But here you can see the elbows bend the wrong way if you go just a little bit up, like any direction up, and the elbows are broken. I think we can fix this by just taking the body down. It actually makes these back into Z legs, which is fine. We can also like tilt this up and that down, gives them kind of a more menacing profile. Basically, you need to think about who this character is and why they are doing what they're doing. But yeah, let's say that's a perfectly good idle base pose. Actually, let's not do that. I think doing an idle, or sorry, a run would be a bad idea. I don't know enough right now about animal runs to feel confident to not make a complete fool of myself. So let's look at an idle. So let's see. Let's have him bounce and sway, something like that. So let's see here. Let's do frames of 10. Steps of 10 between frames until get a little further. Then we can adjust stuff. Let's copy that. And let's reduce this to 40. Push play. Sorry, I didn't prepare for how I would want to animate. I should look at videos of wolves and possibly get in front of a camera and record myself. What about adding a few more voxels in the knee so when it bends, and I'll have a gap there? I've thought of this, but the problem is it's going to bend, right? It has to bend. But if I just break it on purpose. If I add to the bicep here, that might help it read when it's going too far, right? When it's overextending. I might add to the forearm right here for when it's overextending. But if anything happens in the back, then it will penetrate here. So also, if I'm overextending even a little bit, this elbow, let's see, if I go past this point, it no longer looks real because elbows don't do that. Elbows stop mostly at a straight line. So I don't really want to. I don't want to build for a broken scenario. I want to not have the broken scenario. So I want to keep in mind while animating, I should not do this, and therefore I won't have the problem. So yeah, it as an animator, I should make sure that I don't visually break the rig. That's not actually breaking it, but I don't want to visually break it. I don't want to build something that could look very wrong in a wrong position, or like, you get what I'm saying? It somewhat fixes something that's already broken. You can't make it not be broken. Hopefully that makes sense, because I'm not explaining it very well, I don't think. But let's see, going back, I want to give him some bobbing up and down. So actually, I probably want to duplicate the whole thing to 80. Just have him dip in the middle. Alright, so, whoops. When he's in the middle, I don't want to do that. I want to have him come up on the sides. The animation's kind of weird. I really want that animation editor, graph editor. No luck. Wait, I fixed this before on stream. I'll need to like go find that and see what I did. Yeah, because it... Oh no, I didn't. I did this. Or the other thing. Damn. Let's see, can I still... Alright, let's do this. View, bookmarks, graph, running show. Aha. Is this not this? Hooey. Just trying to open the graph editor in this bottom window. It's grayed out because it's open somewhere already. That stinks. Well, he is hitching, and I can't do anything about it. It's kind of moving too much vertically anyway. Oh man, I really want the graph editor now. It's still gonna hitch. Well, pooey. Wolf is now conducting an orchestra. Yeah, it's probably a little too much movement. As I said, I would look at examples of how it should feel, how it should move. What if I took this guy to 1? No, 5. So it's half following the chest. Actually, it's oh no. That. This. Half blends aren't great. You should not do that. Yeah, it's hard to animate without the graph editor. Because I want to like back off. I want to back off his side-to-side movement by half, but I have no real judgment of half, except for like, let's see, what is it? Star equals 0.5. Yeah, it's like I could do it with math. Feels a little better. Let's say just negative 0.5. Oh, that's weird. That was 0.7. Oh. No, something's weird here. Oh, because... Alright, sorry. Because my default pose is at negative 0.907. It should probably be negative 1. Actually, I will do that. And that should be 0.5. What's happening is the rig is not zeroed out in my base pose, which of course makes sense because it should be posed, not T-pose. And I'm just confusing myself. And then here, let's make this closer to 1, so 0.8. Oops, sorry, negative 0.8. This, negative 0.8. So now his upward movement is much less. And then I wanted to change this to be negative 0.5. Still too much movement. If I had the graph editor, I could do all of this at once, and it would feel much better. Let's do 0.1. Negative 0.1. Yeah. Let's see if I can copy. So they're doing the same thing, but I want the graph editor again. If I can shift it. Let's see. I don't like that because it's 100% swapped, but let's see. Not great, but it feels a little better. It feels terrible, but like it feels a little more movementy. It feels a little more alive, where the front and back are slightly offset, but still doing similar movements. But yeah, it gives you a basic idea of how I'd go about doing a basic animation with a rig like this. And like, so here's the extreme benefit. I moved this control and this control in this animation, and nothing else. And look how much I'm getting for free. All of these feet are perfectly still. All of the arms are bending. It looks like an arm. Like, so awesome. And if I want to, while that's happening, I can have the foot like pick up and move off to the side. Let's do 15, 25, and then take this right there, take this right there. So, it doesn't look great, but like the idea is his foot is moving completely separately from his chest, and it's great. Like, that is so freeing in how it lets me animate, and I don't have to care about like, oh, what's the bicep doing right now, because it's all done. Now I can go change it, but I don't have to, and that's what's great. All right. Nice to see you again, Mr. Animator. Micro Lost 0077. Nice to see you as well. I don't remember seeing you before. That's a very unique name. I think I would have remembered it, but I'm also terrible with names. All right. Do you guys have any last-minute questions? Coaster's Paul, is this safe for me to click on? Let's see. Mute it. Oh no. That's interesting. That is a pretty amazing video. But yeah. Do you guys have any questions before I take off for the night? Microlost, I'm glad. That's super awesome. You should post up some cities onto the discourse, or if you haven't already. If you have already, then you should post it. Like on here, you could say, "Hey, look at this Discord thing," and we can look at the discourse thing, and then we can look at them. Not tonight, says Rever at 10. Thunderheart says, got the stream muted. Working late tonight. No worries. Oh, we're going to see some cool house stuff. Yeah. Just a little earwag. Story more than pics. Oh, cool. Hazard being built, plenty of crops and so forth. The sentient stones has not been so much problems. Until a stone golem arrived, those things are monstrous. Yeah, cool. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Thunderheart says, I don't know how you guys got picked up by Riot. That's great. I'm a huge LoL fan out here with the New York City League. I think it's New York City. Sorry. I am a fan of LoL, but I don't really follow esports. I was actually Riot's first hire for this team, so that was really cool. But yeah, I don't know how they got picked up by Riot either. I wasn't part of that. But I'm super glad they did because it gave me a great opportunity to come here. What about the work I was doing with golems? I believe I finished that. No, I don't think I did. Let's go take a look at them. Monster Forest, little stone golem. Combat Slam. Yes, we have not saved. This is bad. Always save your work. First thing you do is save your work. Wolf animations working. New rig idle play. Idle playing. Alright. Nope, he's still in stepped. That doesn't seem right. I could have sworn we got further than that, but... Microlast says, how do you like your coffee? I don't drink coffee, so... Sadly. I used to drink a lot of coffee, just drink it black. Columns. So Bruno Supremo, the answer is... I need to finish it, and then I need to get with Chris about how to get it into the game, but it'll probably be a while. Because it's like overriding on top of the goblin, and we don't want to duplicate everything that the goblin has, so we need some tech solution to do that. Played it for a couple years. You haven't played League for a couple years? You should definitely try it out. They keep adding crazy stuff. There was a arcade game mode added today, I believe. At least the patch was today for it. And it looks super awesome. I'm gonna try it out when I get home. X Carload says I've been following Stonehearth for about 5 years. I'm glad it went the way it did. Thank you. We're still going. And that's awesome. So I can't wait for this new building stuff that Chris is working on to come out. Kicking it out Fortnite. Fortnite looks cool. I haven't bought it. It looks pretty interesting. Some guys at the office were playing it. Playing a lot of Hollow Knight. That's awesome. I really love that game. It reminds me a lot of the old Zelda or Dark Souls, and it's fun. Alright guys, a little bit, almost 10 after. I'm gonna head out. You have a good night too, Microlost. Where's the program? So yeah, thank you guys for coming. Hopefully I was able to show you something about the way rigs work in this game, or will be working in this game. And like why you want them and how they help. But yeah, awesome. Thank you guys. Have a good night.